Hello and welcome back to Techweek TV here in Christchurch, brought to you by Callaghan Innovation. We're here at Callaghan Innovation today, and it's my huge honour to be hosting this panel on the fourth industrial revolution and its impact. My name is Jake Miller. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Unfiltered, and today I'm joined by Mo, industrial Internet of Things lead at Becker, and Stephen, who's joining us for the second time this week, was on a session on Monday as well from Becker, a technical fellow for software engineering at Becker. So gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I know you've come in from Tauranga, and Mo's here from Christchurch, so thank you so much for being here, guys. Yeah, and it's great to have some great sessions with Becker throughout the week. Becker's delivered international projects in over 70 countries now, right? It's pretty unbelievable. It's such a great company, and we spoke about the history and the legacy the other day. Why are you both so passionate about this business?
So for me, it's about owning a piece of the business. So we have an employee ownership model. Yeah. And part of it, because of that employee ownership model, you can do anything you like within the business. Mo will attest to this, as long as you're making money. And so we created a software business in 10 years within Becker. It didn't exist before, simply because we had a passion for turning software into something of value to our clients. And I'd like to think that that software business is now growing and becoming something else, becoming digital, working with our clients in the industrial space and other spaces.
It's so exciting. And I know to kick this off, Stephen, you're going to walk us through a presentation, and then we're going to jump into some questions after that. So I'll hand over to you now to take us through that presentation.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So we're going to be talking about leveraging Industry 4.0. And as you said, Mo Chalabi and I both work with our digital services team. We're both software engineers. I'm a technical fellow for software engineering, and Mo is a software engineer as well, working in the industrial space. So as you said, Becker has an over 99-year history working in an engineering context. We're a professional services consultancy, and we work across many industries for all our clients. So for example, in the digital space, we've been working with the drinking water online database for the Ministry of Health. For transport, we've been working for many years looking at roads of national significance and helping our clients understand where they should be building. For city shaping, we work in smart buildings, especially in Singapore. We have a smart buildings team. But today we're going to be focusing on Industry 4.0 for our industrial clients. So what does Industry 4.0 mean for those clients, and how they can leverage it for their business? So Industry 4.0, in case you haven't heard what that is, it's the fourth industrial revolution. It's the change in the way we live and work brought about by technology in this revolution. And it follows on. We're not saying that this is something particularly new. Innovation and these different cycles within industry has been consistent for many centuries now. The first industrial revolution took us out of the farms and into the mines with the advent of steam. The second industrial revolution took us out of the mines and into the factories with the advent of electricity. From manufacturing to information economy, that was due to computing and automation. And we think, no one knows for sure, but we think the fourth industrial revolution is going to take us into a service-based economy using technologies such as IoT, AR, VR, cloud, analytics, big data, all those buzzwords you hear nowadays. We're not saying that any one of those technologies is going to bring us there, but those technologies combined is definitely changing the way we live and work, and hopefully the way in which we play as well. So why would you bother as an organization today, especially as an industrial organization, if you really have your systems in place? Why would you bother even engaging with Industry 4.0? What we've found is that many of our clients in the industrial space are finding a challenge where they have the experienced folks in their organization, people who are approaching retirement, who understand precisely how to tweak the system to get the results out of the system that they want. And there's a bit of an air gap for some reason between Generation X, not too many people in the business, and then younger folks coming up who have a different style of learning. They may not learn through reading standard operating procedures. They certainly don't learn by reading lots of text. They're much more interested in more engaging forms of learning. They learn via YouTube. They want experiential learning. So how do you engage with that younger workforce? How do you bring them up to speed with the way your plant operates based on the expertise of the older generation? And so this is talking about technologies such as decision support technologies, using visualization technologies, using technologies to help understand what's going on in the real world in real time. This is the sort of thing that helps our clients with these problems, and helping clients with remote work as well. On to Mo.
Cool. So our approach for Industry 4.0 solutions has been based on design thinking. We try and empathize with the client, asking ourselves questions and asking our clients questions about what pain points do they have, what things would they like to improve, and how can we help them with this. And we've seen that it's a lot more successful going to a client and having a value-based initiative or a problem-solving initiative rather than having a technology and trying to find a problem that it could fit through. And by doing this, we're actually able to show value a lot quicker, and we're able to get the buy-in from the business itself. And Stephen and I will take you through some examples of projects that we've done the exact same thing on. So off to you, Stephen.
So this is the technology I'm most excited about right now. It's called an Asset Information Model, or AIM. Now, what you're seeing on the screen right now is not real data, it's fake data that we've generated for this purposes of this presentation, because our clients see this information as so valuable they don't want to share it with the rest of the world. An AIM is based on the idea behind BIM, or Building Information Modeling. As you may know, during the design activity, when our engineers are designing our clients' factories, they collect a great deal of information for that construction. They collect OEM information, geometry information, information about how it's going to be used and operated, information about costings, quality, condition. All that information is embedded in 3D models, and there's been a recognition for quite some time that those models themselves have value during the design activity and during construction. And increasingly, people are starting to become aware that this information is also useful throughout the life cycle of the asset, throughout operations and disposal. So what you're seeing here is an example of BIM on the top right-hand side. We've got a 3D model representing a client's asset, embedded into it a whole bunch of information about OEM information. On the top left, we have reality capture, which is using photogrammetry to get a sense of the real physical space the assets are in. On the bottom left is what you might recognize as a traditional P&ID, or process flow diagram, where you can understand individual components in your process. On the bottom right, we have some analytics or data that you might see in context of the other three views. What's brilliant about this kind of technology is we can then have an operator select an asset on the top left-hand side, see where that sits in BIM, see where it sits in the P&ID, and get real-time SCADA information right then and there. It allows you to contextualize data, which for the younger generation is really important when they don't have that context that the older generation has. We find, actually, surprisingly to me, that the older generation really get a kick out of this technology because they recognize the pump, they recognize the transmitter, they recognize that equipment on the factory floor, whereas they won't recognize it so much in a SAP system or in a document management system. This, in my view, is one half of a digital twin. You may have heard of a digital twin. It's a bit of a buzzword that people might be a bit skeptical about. In my opinion, there are very few digital twins out there. There might be one for a turbine in aerospace. What we have here is one part of that. In my opinion, a digital twin is something that looks like, behaves like, and is connected to the real world. What you can see here is something that looks like the real world and is connected to the real world. But in order for it to behave like the real world, we need simulation. This is an example of a simulation we've built, a process flow simulation we built for our clients for brewery modeling, where they can understand if they make a change to the way in which they're producing their product, what is the impact of that going to be in terms of output. Now, this obviously does not look like the real world, but it behaves like the real world. And in my view, a digital twin where you can combine looks like, connected to, and behaves like, allows you to explore the future in a safe way, which is less expensive, less error-prone, and less hazardous to people when we're trying to predict the future, which is partly what you're trying to do in Industry 4. On to Mo.
Cool, thank you, Stephen. So another pain point that we've seen with our clients is collecting data. We all understand that getting the right data at the right time to the right person is very, very important, and it's a key to the operations of a manufacturing business. Often, it's not the case. Often, you have to install a sensor to a PLC or a SCADA system, and that has all the associated costs and downtime and so on that it would require. So IoT, and you might have heard of that, Internet of Things, or in other words, battery-powered wireless devices or sensors allow you to get data wirelessly and cheaply. Because we come from an industrial background, we do understand the PLC and SCADA and don't straight away jump into the IoT space, but we also understand or keep up to date with the IoT space, understanding the different offering in market. So from our experience, really being platform and vendor agnostic and not really being tied to a certain technology, but really having a holistic view of the available options and trying to understand the client problem and relate it back to the relevant technology has been really key in success of these projects. You can see a photo of me holding an IT device. There's about 1,500 of those that are going around the Christchurch city, and that's been an exciting project to work on. Having something of that scale and helping the client and the vendor who's provided the device has been a great journey. It's all too well getting all sorts of data, but if you're not actually using it for insights, it's not worthwhile. And that's why we focused on machine learning. So machine learning specifically for industrial clients around predictive analytics. And that really allows us to train a machine learning model on understanding the behavior of a certain piece of machine. So it's a critical piece of machine that you can't afford having down. We feed the machine learning model the historical data from the PLC or SCADA system that you have, and we also feed it the maintenance logs when it was broken down or the last time you've done maintenance on it. And based on this, the machine learning model can infer and alert the operators 2 to 3 weeks before the same machine breaks down again, giving them valuable insights and saving them downtime and money. And in terms of machine learning, we haven't just done it in data, and we've also done it in video analytics or image recognition. Using video analytics, and this is an example we're showing at the moment of one of our clients where we've done defect analysis on a certain product. I mean, this has been around for a while, but the only difference with machine learning is we're able to tell the operators what the impact is of that defect. So not only that it's broken or that it's got a defect in there, but whether it will actually impact the quality of the product or not. And we found that by implementing a smart machine learning model like this, we're able to reduce waste and inform the operators a lot better, and also have a lot more consistency in the way operators are dealing with the products. To you, Stephen.
So we talked a bit about analytics already, and I'd just like to mention this solution we have called BTune, which originally started in the building space for schools, I believe. It allows our clients to get information about how they are consuming energy, what their carbon footprint is, so they can then act on that information. And I would like to just point out that when it comes to analytics, the most important thing is the action part. Not having data, not having a nice dashboard, but what will you do differently now that you have this information or these insights to make that decision? This example, speaking about taking action, is an example once again of one of the young operators on the factory floor and someone experienced sitting in the office guiding him through an activity. He's using a technology called the HoloLens, and there's many different kinds of devices out there at the moment which support remote expert assistance, where the expert is able to dial in and sit on the shoulder of the young fellow or lady and give them instructions as they go. But what if the expert isn't there? Well, we've also been working with technologies which allows you to overlay information in the real world, so you don't need to have the person sitting on your shoulder. You can have the instructions overlaid, and there's, once again, many technologies in place. The AR space, augmented reality space, is quite a exciting space to be in at the moment because there's so many different solutions out there, some of them not so good, but we're definitely exploring this technology with a number of our clients at the moment. I quite enjoy the VR health and safety tours example because it's a very affordable way to get health and safety outcomes for our clients. It uses a technology which you may have heard of, Google Cardboard. So Google Cardboard is literally just a piece of cardboard box with a lens which allows you to put your phone in and you can get a 360-degree view of a site, and we use it for health and safety inductions, which could also be used for getting someone a sense of what an environment is like before they get there. Maybe the environment is dangerous, maybe it's a sterile environment, they don't need to be there to have their learnings. And here's an example in VR. We don't really want to dwell on these too much so we can get some time for questions.
No, it's good. Keep going with it. It's fascinating.
Cool. So Stephen and I are showing you some examples of...
You guys are making my job easy.
Stephen and I are showing you some examples of Industry 4.0 applications. What I really want to focus on here is the journey. As you can see, that's a timeline for what we've seen for our clients. And we understand that different clients have different technology adoption levels. So essentially, we have the framework around lean, understanding or starting with the challenge, talking to the right people in the right business, within the business, talking to the right stakeholders, making sure that we are involving everyone in the decision. And once we have a list of pain points, we do, I guess, the fun bit, or the experimentation bit, which is trying to match the pain points that they have with the right technologies. And while doing this, we can also help with the business case. And that's been super important because, again, it's based around value. So you're not trying to sell a certain technology, but as such, you're trying to say, I can help you with that problem, or can't in that matter. Once we found the right technologies, we would try and be agile and fail fast. So we could try 2-3 things at the same time. And again, limited scale trials, try and understand where you failed and adapt, or completely ignore this technology and move on. And that's been a really important step for us in that journey. Once you found the right solution, and once you get the buy-in from your business, the next piece is the integration partner. So finding the right vendor that could continue or go on board with the client and us implement the technology, but also having the understanding that this might scale up in the future to something a lot wider. Again, we're agile, so we'll review and change accordingly and repeat, and we could have multiple projects at the same time. And the scaling up is really important because it allows you to it's almost a change management piece than just a technology piece. You have to introduce your clients or people on the floor, operators, to things like the HoloLens, as Stephen showed, and all the implications that come with that. So it's a very exciting journey as such, and eventually, or the goal is that it just becomes business as usual.
And I'd just like to add at the end that some of you who may be skeptical about Industry 4.0, I'd encourage you to think about it as evolution rather than revolution. We know that industry has gone through a number of revolutions, a number of incremental changes. This is just one more way in which industry is improving the way it does its work. We're not saying that everything's changing. We're just saying that here's some new approaches that are going to help improve the way our businesses work.
Very exciting, guys. Well, thank you so much for taking us through that.
Pleasure.
There's so many places we can go in the limited time we have left, but I think it'd just be good to understand what you think the biggest changes in manufacturing in the next, say, 10 years will be in New Zealand.
For me, as I said about that remote work,
yes.
I think a lot of us are going to be working remotely. We're going to be having people less working inside the business and coming in from outside the business. So you may have experts coming together to support you in your business for a temporary time and then going away. And that's going to be quite difficult to get our heads around because we're used to having people on site that you can grab hold of.
Exactly.
That's definitely supported by the automation piece and the number of people actually required to be on site, and using things like cobots and drones and so on to support that.
Yeah, and for this technology, obviously, there's so much complexity to so much of it. So for your average person at home who's just wanting to learn more or understand more about how this stuff works, have either of you read any books or listened to any podcasts that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I found that Khan Academy is actually a pretty good place to start.
Okay.
So looking at things like artificial intelligence or Internet of Things or data analytics. One of the other things would be, I guess I found LinkedIn to be pretty useful. So articles and videos and so on in terms of non-formal learning.
Absolutely. Yeah, what about you, Stephen?
I would say, I don't know how AI works, but I don't need to. And likewise, I don't know how this thing works either, but I don't need to.
Right.
So understanding the value of something, and I would encourage people to think more about what you can do with the technology rather than how it works, because otherwise you can easily get stuck trying to understand
the complexities of something without being a specialist as such. Yeah. Where do you both think the biggest opportunities are in everything you're talking about for value to be created today, for people to go out and start and scale valuable companies?
Wow. So I think it's to do with data. So I would say that as a software engineer, but mostly to do with using that data to add value. And so I think the aim is really, that's where the magic is at the moment in industrial context. So getting data all in one place so that you can then make effective decisions.
Yeah. What about the Internet of Things? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, it's actually getting the data to Stephen. So for me, it's IoT is probably the biggest opportunity.
Okay.
Being able to measure things that you didn't measure before, and getting that data, hopefully, for something useful.
Yeah, and in terms of IoT, how do you see that impacting your everyday household in 10 years from now?
Oh, it's crazy. We have examples within the business of people that have fully automated their house, where they arrive, the lights turn on, the heat pump turns on, when they leave, it turns off, it feeds their pits, and so on, and that's great. But in the most amount of value for me, I think it would be around energy consumption.
Okay.
And trying to really only heat up the place when you're there, turn on the lights when you're there, and I guess getting the max out of your products by using IoT.
Yeah, exactly.
We have computers in our TVs, and if you asked us 10 years ago, how do you see computers changing people's living rooms? People would probably say, I don't think I'm going to have a computer in my living room.
Yeah.
But we do. We don't call it a computer, we call it a TV.
Same thing almost though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So super exciting world. You know, I thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing some of those insights. As I say, it's like, can be quite overwhelming for people that don't have necessarily like all of the technical understanding, but I think you guys did such a good job of like boiling it down in a way in which like I was, you know, as someone who's not highly technical myself, felt like I really followed you and understood you, and I think the viewers will feel the same way. So appreciate you coming from Tauranga. Thank you so much. Good to see you again. Yeah, thanks, my pleasure to meet you.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much to the viewers at home for tuning in as well on Techweek TV, but brought to you by Callaghan Innovation. We have a couple of sessions left for today, so please stay with us throughout the day, and then we'll be with you tomorrow morning in Dunedin as well. So stay with us. We'll be back to you soon. Thank you so much.